everyone. Welcome to the Empower Hour. I'm your host, Heike Fallon. And let's face it, your education and your talent is awesome. You're fantastic, and it got you where you are now. But if you want to make it further, if you want to step it up to the next level, get that promotion, be more successful in your professional life, you have to absolutely work on yourself. Yes, you have to dig deeper. You have to really dig deeper and work on your personal growth, because that's really what moves you up, what distincts you from other people. That's what gets you promoted. If you don't, more likely you're going to feel stressed, overwhelmed, fatigued, burned out. And yes, you be the one that they're going to pass up by when there's the next promotion cycle coming. You be the one who's going to be missing out on that promotion. So with that said, my today's guest is Mim Abbey. She's an executive coach, and she shares exactly what limiting beliefs there are, how to really dig deeper, and what you need to do to step it up in your professional life. So with that said, let's get started. Let's empower ourselves. Here we go. All right. Hello, Mim. I'm excited you're here. So let's dive in.
Let's dive in.
Let's dive right in, because as an executive coach, I know you've helped so many executives, so many leaders, and I'm so excited to have you here and hear more about it, the work you do, and how you also got there, what you're doing. So share with me.
Oh, thank you so much, Heike, for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to be able to talk with your community. I'm very passionate about what I do, and that is to help people grow, because, I mean, you and I both know you're a coach, and you know we are wired to grow, and we are not wired to stay the same. We're not wired to do the same things that we did yesterday and to do them in the same way as we did yesterday. And yet, here's my soapbox. I find that when it comes to our careers, it's like there's this idea in our world that we go through the educational system, and then we get our degree, and then maybe we get an advanced degree or more advanced degrees, and then we get in there, and then it's all the stuff we've learned so far plus our talent that's going to take us all the way. And that's a big mistake. That's a big mistake, because you got to do that continuous learning. And I work with people who are really good at what they do, and they've gotten into great companies. I work with mostly Fortune 500 companies, and there's this idea that, yeah, my talent is going to keep taking me up to the top, and it doesn't necessarily do that. At some point, all that education you got and then your talent, it's going to take you this far, and then it's not going to take you further. So that's where I step in.
So it's really like then taking it up to the next notch when we're talking about high performers, really bringing it up to the next level, because there's always a next level. And like you said, brain base, right? The brain needs new stimulus. The brain needs new activation. We do need to really nurture that.
Yeah, we do. We gotta keep growing. And so specifically where it gets measured is, I mean, you and I are talking kind of hypothetically, but where it gets measured is, where am I in my career? And am I where I want to be? Am I at a level of leadership? Did I get to a manager, a director role? Do I want to stop there? Do I want that VP role? If I got to a VP role, do I want to go to that SVP role? I mean, again, it's sort of the exploration that we're wired for. We want to go further. And so that's our measurement. If I've gotten passed over, or actually realize, gosh, there are fewer and fewer openings the higher and higher I go. And so I've got to be better than I was yesterday if I'm going to be the one they choose for that opening. It's absolutely true.
So I love that you touched on it already, some signs, right? What are the signs that I am maybe at that plateau where I need to step it up, where I need to be more intentional? How do we know? Like, so one is like, okay, we getting passed over, you said. What else is there when to really know? When do we know that it's time to step it up?
It's a great question. Well, you got to listen to the inner voice. Is there that still small voice inside that's saying, there's more. I know I can go further. It's like I always tell my clients, consider yourself an Olympic athlete. You don't just want to roll out of bed. You don't just want to, like, you're going to get depressed if you just kind of go and do what you do and then you're done and then you go and gas up the car and I don't know, whatever you do after work and have dinner and go to bed. It's like you want to, if you have that little tickle voice that's saying, I gotta go further. Yeah, it's the time to do it. Another one that I hear from my clients is that they say, it's when I look around at the people that I came up with and they're getting promoted and I haven't gotten promoted. And I go, well, I'm just as good. I am just as smart. I'm just as talented as they are. And you probably are. It's just that there's some specific skills and strategies that they hooked into. You know, people say, Heike, like big mistakes, two biggest lies. One big lie is it's all about like experience, but of course experience takes too long. I mean, if you really want to move up and you get all the experience, you're going to be 115 by the time you get that next promotion. So you got to find a way to speed it up. But the other one is politics. People will say, oh, it's so-and-so got promoted because they know the right people. And that may in part be the case, but it's never in whole because of the case. They know the right people because they had the right skills. And I mean, good skills. I mean, human connective skills, ones that we all need to have, ones that we all need more of. The world needs more of, that's for sure.
Yeah. So actually, that's a good point. That would be one of my questions too. What are the limiting beliefs? You said just one limiting belief right there. It's like, they just know people and I just don't know the people. And because I don't know the people, I can't get promoted.
Yeah.
What are other typical limiting beliefs that, you know, leaders have that holds them back from going further?
Yeah, well, and that anyone has. I mean, again, that we're indoctrinated into this thing of get into the educational system, go through, get into the workforce. And when you do, that the recipe is work hard, focus on being the best. And when I say be the best, I mean be the best technically. People think, okay, if I'm like, I had a client recently who said, hey, this other guy got promoted over me. I am better than he is. I'm better at the job than he is. And that's that's probably the case. But it's just that this guy knew some other things. And so we believe that if I work hard and if I'm like really, 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 really great at what I do, that I'm going to get noticed and that it's just going to happen. And so that's a limiting belief. And another one is that even if you work in one of these big companies that I spent my career working in, that you think, they're going to create the pathway for me. And a lot of companies, Heike, I mean, they've got their high potential programs and they've got their pathway programs. So it's true. They do groom people. They do identify people that they want to foster into leaders, but still relying on those as being, because there's other people going through those programs too. So relying on those to be the thing and thinking that your company is going to take care of it and that your company is going to get you there to that next level. It's just not the case. It's really got to be you.
Yeah. And how about the self-doubt? I mean, like the fear. I mean, I can only imagine, but the fear of like, what if, you know, can I really do that? Am I capable of the next level? Because it's kind of scary when it gets up there, right? I mean, it's like you hear that all the time. If you're on the top, it's like you're in or out and it goes quick.
Yes, it's so true. So the mindset, going back to the Olympic athlete thing, I mean, the mindset is a huge part of it. So I definitely work with my clients on the whole visioning aspect, because it's sort of like they say, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And it's the same way in behave, in like have your actions be living and behaving at that next level, but also see it at the next level. You got to see yourself at that next level, because otherwise you are in some way going to sabotage the process. If you feel like, I mean, Heike, you know the concept, and I'm sure many of our listeners do, of the set point, that you have this psychological set point. And it's like, I can only go this low or this high, and I'm always going to stay somewhere in there. And if you really do want to grow in your career, you got to move that set point up. It's got to be in here. So you're so right. And Heike, I know you do a lot of work with mindset too.
Yeah. And so, but, so what I'm hearing too right now, so is really, it's not just the technical skills. It's not just your education. At some point, those are not the key components. Really the holistic approach as well, right? As I stress a lot, it's us as a whole, the person as a whole. That means our mindset, which the
Yes.
other people can't see, right?
Yeah.
Our boss can't see our
Yeah.
mindset necessarily. They don't know. They don't know our self-doubt. They don't know how we show up
Yeah.
and the limiting beliefs we have. So really working actually on ourself is
Yes.
what really brings us to that next level.
Yeah.
So how does that look like? So for example, somebody starting with you, and I'm, most times, right, we identify these there's there's probably gazillion more limiting beliefs that people may have because everybody's different, right? But how does it look like to start with you on working on that component?
It's so true. And I call that component part of the promotable reputation. Because, when I ask people who want to get promoted and I say, do you feel like you have the reputation at work that's going to get you promoted? And they always say yes. And then we dig into it and we separate it out from the technical reputation, that's being great at what you do. And then there's the professional reputation beyond the technical, that you show up as a professional. And they say, yeah, I got that. And then we go on to the promotable reputation and they go, oh, I'm not sure about that. Yeah. So like people totally respect me at this level. But at that next level, I do have people go through a whole piece on their values and what they really want, what they want now, and what they want is where they're going to go. And then we go through a whole visioning piece. And I have them set their vision for themselves, their vision for their life, their vision for that next role. And we've got a kind of a formula and we can always go off script, but it's helpful to have a few pieces that we say, this is part of it. This is part of it. So I see myself doing this and I see myself. And, Heike, one of the reasons I believe that we get into mindset trouble. So here's another thing I do with people with that whole visioning piece is why and for who? Because if it is just for us, then that's where the confidence things, and that's where it doesn't go as far as you need it to go, as we need it to go to hook into something that's truly aspirational for us. So, I mean, to be grandiose about it, it's like we all need to know that we're part of a larger story and that what we are doing has an impact beyond us. So that's part of it too, is I have them identify, who do you really want to serve? Who do you really want to help? And that can be, I'm gonna, lead this team to get the numbers just right so that the actual EVP or the CEO can get the numbers that they need to make the best decisions for the business. And then ultimately that helps everyone to have jobs and support their families, or it helps the end user in such and such way. So if you're in one of those fields that really is helping people in healthcare or helping people, even if it's in entertainment, you're helping people lighten the load with entertainment. I mean, you could trace the trail of what you do to if you're an employee, you're a leader, to the employee community, to the next department, to the end user, just that you're making a difference in the world. And you do that really helps the mindset piece.
Yeah, and actually, for anybody listening, if you are not believing that at this point, thinking like, I don't need that, I don't need a bigger, I just want to, the money and it comes in and I'm just going through my motions, right? And it's becoming just that routine. No, from a brain perspective, we do need that. There's so many researchers out for high performance. If we want to really be productive, want to be happy and fulfilled in life.
Yep.
We do need to, there's a component of belonging, connecting, but also a huge component that our brain needs to thrive is the fact of that we give back. Giving back actually makes us more fulfilled and happy. And having that purpose and that necessity is something that drives us. That's just how our brain is wired. That's how it really functions. So it's really you're already utilizing a lot of the brain functions, how we need to really implement it by utilizing these strategies in really reference of how we're wired.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that's so much of the work that you do with people, Heike, and really helping them to understand, because you've got that brain background and that science background. And it's, as you say, for if you're listening, we're not saying you need to be like in the stretch zone 24/7, because
Right.
that's a recipe for burnout. So we're not advocating burnout. We're advocating balance. But if you spend all your time in balance and calm and rest and renewal, then you're on the way to checkout zone, and you are not wired for that. And things are gonna start breaking down. Your happiness breaks down, your health breaks down, your mental health breaks down, all of that. So it's absolutely rest and renewal, huge part of it. But then you got to go to that next thing. You got to push yourself to that next thing. You don't have to be the leader of a country. You probably don't want to be a leader of a country these days,
No.
but it's that next level for you.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, because it's not about going to burn out and neglecting your health, neglecting your
No,
relationship, neglecting
no.
everything. Is high performance really bring all levels of life up and maintain that.
Yeah.
And one always more than the other. But you said something that I've heard you say before. There's a difference between a job, career, and a calling, and that I think has a real implementation too of how we feel in what we do.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit more about that perspective?
Oh gosh, absolutely. And jobs, careers, and callings, they are all viable. They are all valuable. I mean, when you start out, that first job you have as a kid, as a teenager, that first job you have, it's a job, and it's really important, and we honor that, because that's where you start learning those skills of showing up, and of follow through, and of like being a part of an organization, even if you're bagging groceries, whatever you're doing, but you're part of something. You're helping someone beyond yourself, and then you're getting a wage for it. So you're kind of learning the early ins and outs of professional life. And hopefully, I've had so many of my clients tell me great stories of their mentors, that first boss they had. I had one who he was this teenage kid, he didn't know, and he was kind of slacking off, and his boss really sat him down, and it's what set him on his whole professional route to calling, and to career, and to calling. So it's a noble thing. It's a great thing. It's just that ultimately you're going to have the stirring in your heart that says, the job, I gotta go further.
Yeah.
And so then you move into the career zone. And the career zone it's important. This is where you stand up a little straighter, and you iron your shirt, a little bit more, and you really, it's like, I want to learn this, and I want to show up as my best, and I want to be part of things here, and I want more for myself. And you should want more for yourself. Yeah. I mean, in the best possible way. I want more for myself. I want more for my family. I want to stimulate and so you get into the learning zone, and I'm going to take this workshop. So absolutely go that direction. And a lot of people stop there. Yeah, you see that too.
Yeah, I totally see that too. Yeah, because
Yeah.
then this is where the crux comes, right? Where is the career and now calling and passion, and where we're going? Where's that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just that if you read it all the time, and you read it, and I mean, these sad headlines and in publications where, someone checked out, or someone, God forbid, really checked out. And everyone goes, what? But they were at the top of their game, and they were the CEO, and they were this, and they were so successful, and they'd gotten to that point. Like, they had we hear it in entertainment all the time. They had a serious career going. I mean, their career, they were at the top, or maybe they had, as we all do, they had those ups and downs, but still, I mean, they were a prominent player in our world. And, but you see that it wasn't enough for them. And so it's a cautionary tale. We know ultimately the career is it's not enough. There's got to be something, because we are not robots. We are sophisticated, amazing. At some point we often use the metaphor of a computer to talk about how our body works, or how our brain works. And that's so good. And it's math. It's like this, it helps you to understand things up to a point, but you are so much more than that. You're a soul. I mean, that's the name of my company, is Soul of Success, because you want success, but success without soul, like, if you don't really honor that deeper part of you that we all have, that's just this amazingness that it's at the essence of you, Man, that is a recipe for bad, bad, bad news. You know, there's research, Heike, out there about how there are doctors, like physicians, that see what they do as a job, maybe a career at best. And then that there are janitors out there who see what they do as a calling, and they're scrubbing floors, but they're scrubbing floors for the people who come and worship at that place, or the kids who come and study at that place, or the people who come to do work that's going to advance what other people are like, whatever the business is, and they're scrubbing the floors of that business. They're contributing to those people doing their best work so that they can have fruitful lives and that they can help their customers, whoever the customers are.
Yeah, they, as we said before, they are part of something bigger, and they know it. They know
Yes.
it's part of something bigger. So how would someone know, oh, I'm like missing this piece, right? We talked about it before, right? Like I might be, I'm not maybe getting the promotion, but there's more to it. What if I don't feel that calling? I don't feel like I'm a bigger part of it. I am in that stage career.
Yeah.
How, and I know one big component that I work with is it's called the interoception. It's really the connection between the body and the brain, right? How we feel, that gut instinct that we call, but and which can be trained. But what can someone do when they work with you? How do you get them to distract and find or identify? Oftentimes it's not even we're finding our calling, it's like identifying it's there. We just may have not nurtured it. We may have, sometimes, and that's a question too, when do I recognize maybe what the career I'm in is not the right one for me because I just didn't know? Like, where do we go in this jumbled mess right there?
Yeah, it's so true, Heike. And generally people come to me when they go, I do want to stay here. I do want to keep doing this. I just want to go to the next level. And so we really get into that. But what you're talking about is something that's so important. And everybody, there are people who go through this and they do go elsewhere. They realize I'm not on my path. But what you asked about was early signs. It doesn't necessarily, if you're feeling that, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not on your path. But I think early signs are that you try, and you've got, again, there's that little voice. There's that little voice that says there's something more, and so you try to fill it in different ways. And you try to do it with work. Like, I'm going to take on I'm going to lead this committee at work, or I'm going to lead this extra project team at work, because that's stimulation, and like that's not doing for you. And then you say, you know what, I'm kind of out of shape, so I'm going to work out, and that's absolutely going to do great things for you. But if that still small voice keeps coming up, and so you say, well, I got to work on my relationship with my kids or my spouse, or whatever, like all good things. So you're doing these good things, but there's still not something. And by the way, God forbid you're doing the bad things, like, okay, I'm just going to go and practice a bunch of addictive behaviors. That's the answer. Yeah. So we're not talking about that.
Those are big signs, though. Big signs.
Big signs. So I'm talking about beyond that. When you're doing good things, and you're saying, oh gosh, it's just not the right thing. And that you have done the work that you and I have already talked about, Heike, which is I've dug down and I've traced out, I've really looked at, why do I do what I do, and who does it serve, and what impact does it have? Because for a lot of people, once I work with a lot of clients, they haven't thought that they haven't gone to that depth of it. So once they do that, it's like a light bulb goes on, and they go, this is great. I never really got a sense of mattering and meaning for what I do, but now I have it, and I can dig in even more, and they feel better.
Well,
for other people. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where, I know a lot of times girls like, well, do I really need a coach? Yeah, you do. When you do want to come to another level, the truth is, if you can have coffee with a friend or dinner with a friend, and they will feed you the information you want and that you need at the time. They will make you feel better by all means. But what a coach really does, and I know you do, I do, we dig deeper. We ask specific questions to really, like you said, not just go deep one level, but go deeper a whole many more levels, so that you really learn more about yourself, gain that awareness, and identify steps on where to go next, because oftentimes you might sit there, okay, yeah, I know it's not there, but where do I go? I don't even know where. Yeah, maybe I have that, little voice calling, but I have no idea where to start. And that's where coaching really comes in, and a coach is helpful for that the blind spots, as we call it too, right? Showing the blind spots, because our brain can only see as much as what we create. And we need outside perspectives. We need outside, questions that we would never ask ourselves might come from a coach. So that's how we go deeper and deeper in the level. And once you go deep, right, then usually those promotions comes. Then the connection to what is my purpose and calling comes, and it moves. That's when we're moving really forward into the next levels.
Yeah, it's really true, Heike. That's what I would say. That's what gives you the fuel and opens the door for you to start moving. And then I would say there are levels of skill that's the danger point where people say, okay, I'm kind of like starting to light up here, and I can feel like soul on fire in a good way. And then the danger is to say, great, so let's go. And that's where I'd say, just check your skills at that point. One of the big things I work on with people is, people say it's all about politics. I'm going to reframe that and say it's less about politics. It's more about you developing advocates, because you're not going to get to the next level if they don't want you at the next level. Like, do people want to promote you? And you would say, well, of course, because I've got these amazing technical skills. I mean, look at my talent, look at my skills, look at all I've got. And we forget the part about, and again, I don't call it politics, I call it relationships. I mean, your boss they really have to want to promote you, and your colleagues have to be speaking for you, and leaders and other groups have to be speaking for you. And so you've got to do the job of creating advocates. And what I find is that a lot of people are not great at creating advocates. And by advocates, I mean, you bring all your integrity to this, because you're not going to use people. You're not going to try to twist people's thinking. You got to go deeper on your relationships. And so a lot of that's why my background, Heike, is in sales and leadership. And that the through line with both of those, or the connection with both of those, is, gosh, it's all about relationships. It really, really is. And relationshiping is a real set of skills that most of us think we have, because we've been talking for decades. Like, I can talk, people seem to be able to hear and get what I'm saying, and there's just so much more. And I've seen people who are at the top of their game so far. There's always a next level.
There's always, I love
and
that.
And their skills, they've got the natural skills, but they got to go further. They don't even know it. So that what I would say is, that's that little danger place. And if you're listening to this, don't miss the fact that you can go further in developing those advocates for yourself, and you're going to be advocates for them too. This is why I say you can bring all of your integrity. This is not you asking, this is not you using people. This is you getting to a higher level of sophistication of how you form new relationships and how you foster existing relationships and take them further, so that people go, wow, not only are they great at what they do, I really want to see them go to the next level. Oh, that's the place you want to be.
Yeah, and that key component here, I want to stress it again, is being authentic. It's not about being out there, like you said, misusing it, authentic, but to be authentic, we also need to know ourselves. We need to have the clarity, as you said, you're working with your clients on the values, on their vision. You need to know those things to know who you are, and then you can show up and show who you are. And when you show to the others who you truly are, that's what builds the deep connections and in the relationships. And that's what's so fundamental and moving forward.
Exactly. And Heike, I want to say one more thing, because I realize you mentioned earlier such an important topic, and that's the topic of confidence. And one of the issues as we move higher in our careers is you're going to have to be really influential. You're going to have to speak up and influence individuals and influence groups of people. And that's something that a lot of us we stumble into, and maybe we doubt ourselves, maybe we don't, and we actually should, because we don't speak. So a lot of work that I do with people is on their poise and on their presence and on how they show up to influence, and not just kind of the hows, but like very specifically. So I do a lot of work with messaging, because you got to do a lot of effective messaging at those higher levels. So how effective are you at it? When you learn those things, your confidence goes way up, because you're equipped to more than you were before, to be able to be really comprehensive, really meaningful to individuals, to groups of people. So that's something that ties into that confidence. I was so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And because we're going to start wrapping it up here, but it at the end of the day, it's all a skill. Everything is a skill. We can all learn it, but we need to really look at not just the technical skill, not just the skill that we accumulated in our degrees, but there's so many other skills. Yes, we call them sometimes soft skills, but it goes even beyond that, because it's our own clarity, who we are, what we want, all of that internal work that needs to happen as well. And once we really have that whole spectrum worked with, and that's what really moves us further up the ladder where we want to be. And at the same time, as we said, it's not about burning out. At the same time, really making sure we're nurturing our health, our well-being, our relationships, and really have a fulfilled life with that calling or the purpose, however you want to call that. But it's a skill, and we can learn it, and we just need sometimes a little help by coaches. Or otherwise, I know you have also a lot of valuable information on your YouTube channel and social media. So, and to reach out to Mim, the information is below the video right here. But to get started, check out all that information that is already out there, and feel free to contact Mim to really start digging deeper into that area.
Awesome.
Yes. Do you have one more great idea for our listeners as far as what they should start in the next step?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, Heike, thank you so much for having me. And everybody, the key is to take a next step, because nothing is going to happen without taking a next step. So I would say for you yourself is to take stock of, how happy am I with where I am? Do I want to keep going? Typically, when we do want to keep going and go to the next level, we are the ones that are holding us back. And Heike and I have spoken so much here about, it could be the mindset piece, and it could really be the skill piece. And as she said, all of that comes down to skill. Mindsetting is a skill. Growing those advocates, growing your influence, those are all just skills. And so you're going to start by taking stock of yourself. And then secondly, just start looking out there to see, so who do I want to follow? And if you want, I would love to talk with you. And I can offer a free promotion strategy session for if that is something that you are thinking about. I do want to get to the next level, and I don't know that next step. So happy to talk with anybody to help you get to that next level.
Awesome. Thank you, Mim, for being here on my Empower Hour show, and take the next step. That's all I'm saying, because you deserve it for yourself. Bye.
Bye-bye.